Hey everyone!
Hello, happy
Happy
Monday.
Monday!
Yeah.
Jinx, I owe you a Coke. A Coke freestyle.
I'm actually drinking a Diet Coke because I am fueled right now by espresso
Ah,
and diet soda. Brought
I
to you
had
by.
I made a very strong pot of coffee today. It was a very long weekend for both of us, I
Wow,
think.
did you do anything fun?
No, nothing. Boring. Yeah, so we're gonna do our hellos and I think jump right into it because I think we have way more than an hour of material and we don't
Yeah.
have neither of us has the whole day to devote because we've got to jump right back into writing. I'm sure
Yes, I
you're right
know.
like
And
me.
we have a little special co-host today. My
Oh,
baby,
oh, he's
my
so
adopted son
beautiful.
from Isle of Berk.
Oh, I love him. I will protect him.
Yes, we will talk about him during the show because that was one of my favorite parts of Epic
Absolutely.
Universe.
So let us while we're here before we kick it off, let's first say hello to our folks who are in the chat early, starting with Vince Lamb. And yes, Vince, Epic is living up to the name, and that's what today's show is all about. Michael Bingham is very excited. He had a big day at Universal and IOA yesterday, but he's here for us today. So thank you for joining us. And also thank you for joining us, Blossom and Michelangelo. Good to
Yes,
see you
thank
all.
you.
As always, we got some folks already logging in. So let us jump right into this. One last, Brian got in just before the bell. Can't believe today marks the 30th anniversary. Wow, for a Goofy movie. That makes me feel really old.
Right.
And yeah, D23 going on the road. Maybe we'll talk about that next week's. But no Disney news today. Just as Blake Taylor says, Epic Universe. So let us go ahead and kick this thing off in 3, 2.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I am Seth.
And I'm Carly.
And we are here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what's going on in our own lives. And Carla, you're like me. You just had a boring, quiet weekend at home. Nothing going on. Nothing interesting to talk
No.
about. Okay,
Yes, I
short
mean, we
show.
just, yeah, really
Yeah,
laid back.
yeah. Okay, short show. We're just going to sign off. Yeah, that's a late April Fool's, folks, because we did have an absolutely epic weekend. Carly and I got to spend, first of all, we got to see each other in person. Doesn't happen that often.
Yes.
Always great to spend time with you and to spend time at Epic Universe. The new theme park, very highly anticipated. We have been talking about it since the very first podcast that we did together, and I think we're going to be talking about it for a little while longer. But we hit a major milestone. We were the part of the very first group of media, first people, group of outsiders allowed into the park. First people allowed to take photos and videos in the park. And we were some of the very first people outside of the designers to ride Harry Potter and the Ministry of Magic, as well as experience all the other rides that TMs have been testing out lately. We've got so much to talk about. So without any further ado, let's jump into this week's big news in the queue. All right, as you probably figured out by now, the big news is this week's media previews of Epic Universe and our very hot takes, because it was pretty warm that day. I got a serious tan on my arms.
Yes, I did not wear sunscreen because I
Uh,
hate the feeling of it, and
yeah.
I am a little toasty too.
I always cover, I'm one of these people. I always wear long pants. I always try to wear long sleeves, and I wore short sleeves for a change, and paid the price. So, so you will get our slightly sunburned takes on all 5 worlds at Epic Universe, from Celestial Park to Carly's favorite, and you'll find out which one that was at the end if you can't guess
Yes.
already.
And I do want to explain what we did was not like a normal park visit. So
Absolutely,
we
yeah.
were in individual groups. So this will explain why I accepted some stuff I didn't do and vice versa. So it's important to note we weren't really like free reined. So
yeah.
Yes.
So we had a kind of surreal experience where we were like visiting royalty or whatever. There were people, team members and their families and friends in the park with some decent lines for some of the attractions, but we were given VIP tours. I think these were like maybe some of the first VIP tours, like mock VIP tours that we were training. And so we each were on different VIP tours. So we did have very different experiences. Carly got to see and do several things that I didn't. But it definitely made me want to go back and have some of the experiences that she got to. Before we get too deep in the park, let's not take up too much time, but talk just a little about our pre-show, which was the night before Epic. We got to visit the Helios Grand Hotel, which is the new top of the line hotel. It is, I was a little some things I loved, some things surprised me a little, but I want to hear, before I say anything, your first impressions of this new hotel.
Yes, luxury vibes. This is different than any of the other Lowe's properties at Universal. And now my mind is completely changed about it not including Express, because this is like a luxury hotel. I obviously love all the Universal hotels and stay at them all the time. I do love getting the Express, but this feels like a luxury experience. And I feel like the price point is cheaper than what it feels like, if that makes sense. The pool is incredible. Bar Helios might be the best bar I've ever seen visually.
Yes.
It is just incredible. The rooms I thought were just okay. They're kind of a little bit small. They're smaller than Nova and Summer. I don't care about that.
That was my biggest takeaway from the lobby. You walk in, you have this wow moment of seeing this big starburst chandelier in front of this giant picture window overlooking Celestial Park, and that lobby view alone, which most of the rooms also have, that view is worth every penny.
Oh, absolutely.
And Bar Helios, walking out and seeing that view. We didn't get to actually go on the alfresco patio yet, but the interior with the constellations and the dome and that gorgeous circular bar, that's definitely somewhere that I am going to want to hang out. We did get the manager confirming that reservations are open now and that they will validate for up to 4 hours of parking. I have some conflicting information from various reps over whether guests are being encouraged to exit from the park side into the theme park and use the facilities and come back out, or not.
Yeah, so it might be, if you're familiar with like Grand Californian, that situation is wishy-washy depending on the day. Like, I've never been asked to show proof that I'm staying there, and I always use that, but other people have. So we're going to definitely see how this plays out. But the location and the views, amazing. Flora Tavern off of the lobby it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's truly gorgeous.
I was talking to a Universal rep, kind of off the record, and my point was that Grand Californian, they've got a specific time, supposedly. They don't always enforce it, but when it's busy, there's a time before which outside guests can't just come in. But I believe if you book a breakfast at Storytellers, you can show a receipt and use that to get through. And so I don't know. I suspect they'll come up with a similar system. I know that they've set a price of like $125 to park there, so they don't want people just parking and walking in.
You know what? I think that's so smart. And also, rich people are going to do it anyway.
Right.
There's no price to pay on convenience.
So I don't know what the situation for people ride sharing or something, taking an Uber to the hotel and walking through that way. I don't know how that's going to work. I think for now, it'd probably better to stick from the front entrance and not try to game the system.
Agreed. And I think it's going to be like a Grand Floridian or Polynesian situation where it's like a tight lockdown, whereas opposed to the Hard Rock Hotel, I always lift there because it's such an easy walk. They don't, they let anyone come because these are open to the public. You can go to Bar Helios. These are not reserved or guests of the hotel, which I love.
hmm And so the one thing was walking into the guest room. The standard guest room is not significantly larger than the standard guest rooms that we stayed in at Terra Luna. You've got an amazing view. You've definitely got better quality, like bedding and fixtures and furniture. But in terms of actual floor print, it's really not a huge luxury sized room. But I think that the convenience of being able to the park is exhausting, which is something we'll get into.
Yeah.
The convenience of just being able to walk right back to your hotel room at the end of the day, for me, I want to book a room there just for that, because I know I'm going to be beat by the time they kick me out of that park.
100%. I left also. I am going to plan a night to spend there too because I
Yeah.
loved it. The views are everything. I love the rose carpeting in the guest rooms. The
Yep.
bathroom is great.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing like dazzling about the room, I will say. But I also am realistic, and it doesn't really need to be because there's so many other qualities to it. And I also don't need a ton of space. It
Mhm.
might be tight for a family of 4 with luggage.
Yeah.
And it was smaller than my room at Terra Luna where we were staying, but that's fine.
I will. The room was maybe a little below my expectations, but the hotel pool, I had seen how it was just kind of crammed there on the backside of Dark Universe, and I figured it would not be as nice as some of the others.
Oh,
It really, they call it the Lotus Lagoon, and it actually does kind of look something like out of White Lotus, like
yeah.
one of these super luxe resorts. And honestly, it's kind of sunken down. You don't really notice the monsters land looming over it. I was not bothered by it. And it's just such a beautiful pool. We were out there at sunset and it was
Oh,
just stunning.
nice. Yeah, it gives me like luxury Las Vegas pool vibes.
Mhm.
Obviously, not like the party atmosphere, but the look of it visually, it's massive. And I
Yeah.
love that style of pool. I wish there was a water slide, but that's just my personal preference.
Yes, it's not a super family oriented. Like they've got a zero entry area with some jets, and they've got a ping pong table and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have a slide. It doesn't have a lazy river. So yeah, it's on that level. It's not a Cabana Bay or a one of the other more
Right.
family
But,
friendly.
that's
But
not the vibe of this property. So
yes, if you
okay.
want to, they've got gorgeous cabanas. If you can, throw in for one of those, I think it would be an amazing place to just chill for a day.
Absolutely. I mean, I loved it. Like I said, I am planning right now to book it because I
Yeah.
cannot wait to stay there.
And here's the thing, it does not have express passes to Epic or the other parks. But the price point is significantly lower than
It is.
a Royal Pacific or a Portofino. And the express pass, since they've taken so many things, I think they just removed the carousel maybe from I saw some other things that were removed from the list of express pass eligible attractions.
Hmm.
You're not getting Ministry of Magic. Like I would rather instead of staying at Portofino or Hard Rock and getting the express pass, I think I would save money on the hotel room, stay at Helios, and put the difference into a VIP tour, because I think a VIP tour at Epic is the only way to do everything in a day. Even an express pass isn't going to do it.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that, but I am also altering my plans of
Yeah.
when I'm going to visit with my family, and I'm going to do the VIP
Yep.
tour as well, because there's going to be a lot of attractions that the wait times are going to be like under 30 minutes, I think. And
Mhm.
the big ones that you can't get on.
Are going to be 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
you
mean,
need VIP.
for getting on, well, we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah.
I'm jumping
We
ahead
know
of
a lot.
ourselves, but let us jump through our first portal, the portal at the very beginning that enters into Epic Universe. It says, "Beyond this gate, find gardens green and epic worlds to fill your dreams." It makes quite a statement. Only one of the sections was spinning on the day that we were there. So they're still, I guess, working on the mechanics there. But even without the motion, it's like everyone just had to stop and get a selfie or a picture in front of it.
It was definitely overwhelming.
Mhm.
And the Kronos is spectacular in person. But I think the first, my first thought was, oh my God, Celestial Park is so big. And people
Oh,
told me this before going, but I didn't think I realized it until I got there. They're so
it
big and there's so much.
it really does feel like you could fit one of the smaller theme parks in Orlando just into Celestial Park.
Yeah.
It's there's so much green space, there's so much water. I like it's kind of, you walk in and you do have stores on both sides of the entrance, but I like that it's almost an Animal Kingdom-y kind of entryway where you don't just go straight up a main street towards the first weenie. You have to like go around the gardens and go past pools and sort of wander towards your first portal. And
Yes.
it's a very zen space, like the music,
Right.
the sound
I
of running water.
love the music. I loved how when you were approaching a portal, the soundtrack changes
Mhm.
when the Celestial
There's
Park.
so many layers to the soundtrack. Like I think I and there's gorgeous benches, and we were just like marched around the park. But I want time to just sit on one of those benches and chill and listen to the music. I think long term it might rank up there with like Port of Entry at IOA kind of
Yeah,
music.
and my friend that I spent most of the day with, who was also in my group, said, there's so many bars and restaurants in Celestial Park. She goes, this is another Epcot for us. You
Yeah.
could really just go to Epic, and if there's a lot of waits in the attractions and the portals, you could do like a food and drink crawl around Celestial Park, and it would be amazing. And it's the vibes, that Epcot gives me, where I don't really care about going on rides. I just want to walk around World Showcase. And Celestial Park was kind of like a World Showcase to me.
We both had lunch. They had the press at the Oak and Star Tavern, which is the barbecue restaurant, and I thought all the barbecue was very solid for theme park barbecue. Brisket had a nice layer of fat on it. Sauce had a good kick, but they've got that plastered owl bar that I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I should be drinking. It's too early. I'm working, and you were like, I'm doing the research.
Yes, exactly. So we didn't really have a lot of time, so I just tried to like maximize everything. The food was
Good for you.
amazing. I love the mac and cheese. I saw people sneaking over to Owl, which was one of my most hyped things I wanted to do.
Yes.
So I did eat quick. I snuck over there. The bar is gorgeous. It doesn't
Beautiful.
look like a theme park bar. There's seating, I'm so sick of all these bars being turned into walk-up kiosks. Tutti Gusto Wine Cellar, I don't go there anymore because it's just like a glorified stand. This bar you could sit at, and I hope the seats stay. I did try the namesake cocktail, the plastered owl. It was amazing, like an old fashioned with a little bit of simple syrup, and it was just incredible. The glasses were not in yet, but they're going to be in soon. And that is definitely one of the spots that I'm going to see myself hanging out at in the future.
For sure. And there's several of those kind of like places around the park where it's not just grab a drink and keep walking, but like they're
Meteor
encouraging
Astro
people
Pub.
to, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yep.
I didn't go there because
Yeah, I walked past it. It looked great.
but it was like popping, it
Yeah.
was, it looks so fun.
Yeah. And of course in Celestial Park there are a couple rides, and the headliner is Stardust Racers. This is the Intamin twin dueling roller coasters, launch coasters, with the flux capacitor as an Easter egg from Back to the Future on the back of each one. I got to ride the green side in the back row.
That's what everyone says is the best.
I saw the face of God. The ejector airtime ejected my soul up out of my body and back in.
Wow.
I have not felt G-forces like that since the first time I was on Sky Rush at Hershey Park, and but the restraints are much more comfortable. I don't have bruises across my thighs.
Oh no. And just look at this thing. There's a beautiful bridge that overlooks the coaster. I actually spent like 5 minutes just sitting there watching because you could see a really good moment when the two coasters are coming at each other.
Let me jump ahead to our photo tour. And by the way, when I'm scrolling through, if you're watching the video version, we have full breakdown, full park tour, and then breaking down land by land of everything we saw on the media day. Photos from our whole team that was there, myself and Art Roseboom. And Blake put these together, been working nonstop around the clock to get this content posted. So go and check it out at attractionsmagazine.com.
Yes, I would have loved an embargo, but that was not the case.
Just to give us a little breathing room, right?
But it's just so incredible. Pictures don't do it justice. I know a lot of people are talking like, I don't want spoilers. It doesn't matter because you look at the pictures. in person is going to blow you away even more. So I would say just look at everything.
Speaking of which, I should have probably made a disclaimer at the very top. There will be some minor and possibly major spoilers. We'll try not to spoil any surprise endings or anything, but we're talking about a theme park. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to hear anything about it, just keep playing the episode so we get the credits. But you can just cover your ears while
Yes.
playing them.
Yeah, there will be spoilers.
So yeah, I thought that Stardust Racers was excellent roller coaster. I think Velocicoaster and Hagrid's for me are slightly still above it, just in terms of theming and story. The queue is pretty, bare bones. There isn't a pre-show or anything with it. But in terms of pure coasterness, it's in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I love that we have an attraction that's not really about a story. Every single thing at Epic Universe is story driven.
Yeah.
Theming, so it's kind of refreshing to have something that's like, this is a dang good roller coaster.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
And the other attraction, did you get to go on the carousel?
I didn't get to go on any attractions in Celestial Park just because choices had to be made. But they will be there. I did go look at it. It is gorgeous. Not at all what I expected. Even better.
So the carousel is really beautiful, and it's got a twist in that it goes up 6 feet, and when you're on it, 6 feet doesn't sound very much, but when you're on it, that's actually pretty significant for a carousel. And the fact that you're not just going around in a circle, but you're going in a circle within a circle within a circle, and the animal you're on is turning on a pole. It's moving on a turntable that's inside another table. Really interesting move. The ride it reminded me most of was Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters over in California Adventure Cars Land, but much smoother, much gentler. The Luigi's trackless is kind of jerky.
It is jerky.
And this was like being part of this very graceful Zen dance. It was very it was very soothing. It was almost like the theme park equivalent of like a yoga session.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah. So I don't know in terms of capacity, how long people are going to be willing to wait for it. I would say it's definitely worth a good 20 minutes or so. But I think just seeing the cycle time on it, you might be waiting for quite a while for that one.
Yes. I also want to mention in Celestial Park, I went to go look at Pizza Moon. I didn't get to eat there or anything, but I just want to say just the marquee of it is
to
see it.
Yes, inspired by the classic silent film with the rocket in the eye of the moon. Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I was a little sad to see was an empty stage, the hemisphere stage in the middle of the park. Hope some entertainment comes back to there, and also some shade, because they have these rings hanging that look like they're begging for some kind of canopy. It'll take a few years for the trees to grow in. You can see in the background there's some pretty spindly looking trees. When these give it a few years and when these are all grown in, it'll be a lot better. But right now, you might want to do like Asian folks do in Tokyo Disneyland and bring an umbrella. That good choice for sun or for rain.
Yeah, I agree. And also, we stayed at Stella Nova, I guess it was like a month and a half ago.
Mhm.
Even from that time to now, pulling up to Epic Universe, the amount of landscaping that has been put in was like,
sure.
my jaw was dropped.
Yeah.
Night and day. So I'm sure that's going to get even more. And on that note, for grand opening, I did purchase a Dark Universe bucket hat because the sun is quite intense. Yeah.
Very good choice. Finally, I got to see some testing of a daytime fountain show. The VIP guide said that it should eventually be on a schedule. Did not have any information yet about a nighttime fountain show or fireworks. We know they've got a launch pad for fireworks. They've talked about fireworks in the past, but right now they haven't formally announced any nightly fireworks fountain show. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yes, and there's also a Starbucks in Celestial Park, which is one of two Starbucks.
You have to have a Starbucks.
Yes, yeah. And there's also a tiki bar called Celeste Tiki, which is right on the water. I didn't get to go there, but it looks amazing. And
we will have to schedule an entire day to investigate the tiki bar.
Yes, that is facts.
And next up, we are going to hop into a first land, which is Super Nintendo World, and I guess we're supposed to refer to these all as worlds, not lands. Sorry.
That is
Uh,
correct. We're hopping in the portal to
portal to a
another
different
land.
land. And I'm gonna do Super Nintendo first, just because we've seen this in California. I've been to this in Japan. This was my kind of least hyped, just because I'm already the most familiar with it, and I think it lived up to expectations. I think the fit and finish on it is better than when Hollywood first opened. There were a lot of seams when Hollywood first opened, and this, I think everything looked really great. Same problems I have with the stairs, though, in Japan. There's so many staircases, and it makes the areas that aren't stairs feel a little more crowded. And I have hot takes on Minecart Madness. So, what did you think of Super Nintendo World?
I am with you completely. I could care less to go in there only because we're so familiar with it, where I know a lot of people aren't as lucky to have spent a lot of time in Hollywood. This is just like Hollywood, just bigger.
Yeah.
I love that when you enter the green pipe, it's actually an escalator going up, which I did not anticipate. I didn't know that. And I was like, oh my God, we're on an escalator. Looks really cool visually. I spent the least amount of time there, again, just because it's basically Hollywood, bigger, it's Japan. I did ride Yoshi's Adventure, which I thought was adorable.
So cute.
So cute. I love the colorful Q. I think this will be a great ride. I mean, this was actually when I broke off, and it was pretty busy with team members. And there was only a 5-minute wait. This thing is like continually running. It's like
it's an omnimover. It's a
like it's just
people
going
eater.
around. And also it's just not like, at that point my feet hurt, so it was just nice to like, sit and look at Super Nintendo World.
And it's got a little bit of interactivity. If you've got the power-up band, you can sync it to the ride, and you press the little buttons to match the color of it.
And you know what? I didn't
perfect for
even do
little
that.
kids.
And I just wanted to enjoy and
You get such a great view of the land, and they did do a great job. It's there's some debate online about sight lines, especially in Berk. I've got to say, I was so immersed in all the areas. I was not looking at the random top of the Helios Grand poking over the set. You really do feel surrounded in these.
And
Anyone who's
like blended blue, so I also didn't really notice the sight lines either. It's the same thing that all the other parks do. I felt immersive.
I can go around the Magic Kingdom or Disneyland and point out all the go away green and and the show buildings if I want to, but if
why?
that's what you're looking at, then something's wrong, and I don't think it's something wrong with the park.
Right, exactly. And I will say I was kind of blown with Donkey Kong Country. It looked amazing with all the water features.
I did not get to go inside Donkey Kong Country in Japan, and I was so happy to get to walk around it. It's not a huge area, but it is really well done. But the mine cart ride, which is not going to be included in the Express Pass, from what I understand, when it originally opens, I have very mixed feelings on that. I don't think I would personally wait more than 30 minutes or so to ride it again. Did you get to ride it?
I got in the single rider line, and it was moving so slow, so I got out. But it also wasn't high on my list because of what I heard about it, which you can explain a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the one where the car seems to jump the track. Very innovative new ride system using a boom, and I'm afraid that, at least for me, maybe it was a little too innovative. Because every time you have one of these cool moments where you are jumping from one track to another or going over a gap, because there is such a long distance from the actual track to the car, the seat that you are sitting in, every little movement on the bottom track translates to this big wobble, this kind of side-to-side shuffling wobble, which is the same kind of shuffling that makes me not like Rip Ride Rocket. It's not bumpy in an up and down kind of way like a real mine car jumping on tracks would feel. It's bumpy in a side to side way that makes you just the whole thing feel kind of janky.
Like Carnival, it gave me the vibe.
Being on a Wild Mouse, but a Wild Mouse that feels like the upstop wheels are not quite tight enough, so it's almost coming off the track, and it's too slow to be a real thrill ride, but it's too fast and bumpy to be a little kid's ride, and it's weird in between space. And I don't expect to see other parks buying this model of roller coaster ever again.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I did not go on it because of all of those reasons,
Yeah.
but I will say with the tech, it's much cooler to watch from outside of the ride
Absolutely,
than it is
absolutely.
to experience. I loved watching it, and
Yeah.
I spent a little bit of time. It is very cool visually, but
Yeah.
yes, the
And
experience.
you really see most of the ride from the outside. There are
Yep.
kind of like 2 brief show scenes with minimally animated animatronics. There's a cool close collision where you veer away from Donkey Kong's minecart and go down one of the short, sharp drops. But it's not, it's not enough of a thrill for roller coaster junkies. It's not enough of a dark ride for dark ride people, and it's a little too aggressive to be a little kid's ride. So I think it's gonna, if though the one good thing is it's gonna draw a whole lot of people because it looks like nothing else you've been on, and that will suck them away from the other lands that
That's
I
good.
personally like better.
That is fine. I will say, Yoshi's Snack Island was not ready, so we didn't get to have that. But I can't wait to go back because they're going to have that melon drink from Japan, and then
Oh.
also little shell like calzone things that are also
Yes.
from Japan, which they don't have at Hollywood. So I am excited for that. I did not go to Totsu Cafe because you and I have already done that a bunch and tried everything. I love that restaurant, so definitely go and do that.
I did play with my band a little.
Oh,
There are
nice.
some new key challenges they don't have in Hollywood, like a puzzle one with Bob-omb. And I really think that the power-up bands are a great investment. I've used now mine in 3 different parks, and I really do have fun, kind of seeking out. There's a whole new Mini Mario area where you get shrunk down to the size of Mini Mario. Lot of fun. I think if you're spending more than one day in the park, I think it's worth
Absolutely,
paying
and a
for
lot
it.
of people didn't know this. The bands work from Hollywood and Japan, so
Yes,
you don't need to buy a new one.
I've been able to link the same band to all 3 apps.
Yep.
So it lets you keep track separately, so you can play.
And
them
it's
all.
just honestly just so fun to punch a box. You don't
Yeah,
have to do
exactly.
challenges. I mean, that's the thrill, and they look cool. I love
Yeah.
wearing it.
So next up after Super Nintendo World, we are going to go through the portal into the Isle of Berk for How to Train Your Dragon. This was one, I hadn't really watched the movies until a few weeks ago. I did not expect to cry in this land. I did not go to a theme park to cry.
Yes. I also have no long-term emotional attachment to this. Watched the movie recently. It absolutely gutted me and warmed my heart. When I walked in here, I cried too.
Yeah.
I did not expect, again, it's like usually I'm nostalgic for things that I enjoyed as a kid. So it was really a weird emotion but that's just how powerful this land is. And sorry, even though I love Dark Universe personally, I think that's my favorite just because that's my vibe.
Yeah.
This is the best world. It is just unbelievable.
Well, in terms of being a complete theme park land, I think in terms of creating a real dimensional environment, I think you might be right. The reveal of this one, where you walk in and you see this kind of stone monument explaining what Berk is, and then you walk past it and see the lagoon revealed in front of you with the Viking and dragon statues and the water and the kinetic of the different attractions. It does just truly comes alive, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Complete, and I was with a friend who had never seen this movie. After we spent time there, she went to the gift shop and bought like everything because it's just you should watch the movie. Just watch the first one, before you go, because then you'll get everything essentially. It's so alive, and that's kind of like it's alive. This land is alive, and it's the Viking performers walking around. It's Toothless and baby dragons, and
you have combinations of puppets. You have animatronics like this ice dragon that breathes out this huge puff of cold fog. You have little characters. Even just the ride and show attendants were so into their roles, as really, really great to see. Just the enthusiasm and the life that is there. And speaking of live entertainment, my first attraction at Epic Universe was watching the Untrainable Dragon show, which I'd previously watched the videos of from Beijing and
Same, but they didn't do it justice
thought
either.
it was fine. Seeing it in person, absolutely. This is the first Universal musical show that I think can stand up with some of the stuff like they do in Tokyo with, Mickey and the wonderful noun, the adjective noun kind of shows.
Right. And I just want to talk about the theater itself for a second.
Oh,
You
yeah.
walk in there, it is a Broadway quality theater.
Absolutely.
It is
800 seat
unbelievable.
theater, and just the lighting, the way that things that you think are walls are actually giant video screens, and the lighting, and most importantly, there's live actors, there's live singers, there's live
Drummers.
drummers and dancers, but most importantly, the best flying effect that I've ever seen in a theater. I was there for Spider-Man on Broadway.
Mhm.
I was there for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, yeah.
The Dementors in Cursed Child. I don't care what you say. There's never been a theatrical flying effect that made me weep. Like
Same.
having Toothless fly right over my head. And he looked down at me and he blinked and smiled,
Yeah.
and I just cried.
I know.
I'm getting
I'm about to
teary
cry
thinking
now.
about it right now.
Same. When he first comes out, the
Mhm.
entire audience, I mean, obviously, we were the people that were also very excited to be their team members.
Mhm.
Everyone screamed. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a moment I'll
Yeah.
never forget. And I have to say, in Beijing, he only comes out once. Not to spoil it,
Mhm.
he comes out twice here, which I think was a great choice because it's
Mhm.
once at the beginning and once at the end. And I'm so happy that we got to see it 2
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. In addition to that, there's some amazing full body onstage puppets that I guess they're a combination of animatronics and puppets. I don't know how they work. They're absolutely amazing. The only thing I can compare them to is the old Walking with Dinosaurs stage tour. They did a Jurassic World one.
Oh, yeah.
With,
Mhm.
that kind of level, but also artistic. Like there's this whole scene where they are doing like a combat against a projection of a sketch, like an animated dragon, and just the mix of visual styles and costuming and lighting. It's a really great show. I only wish it was longer. It's barely
Yes.
20 minutes, and I felt like I would happily sit through another 5-10 minutes of that
Yes.
for sure.
But on that note, I will say, and we'll talk about another show, which I
Mm.
couldn't say this about, it felt so cohesive and the
Mhm.
storyline is very easy to follow.
Mhm.
It's wrapped up tightly, perfectly. So
Yep.
maybe it shouldn't be longer because I was engaged the entire time. And
Yep.
it wasn't just because
Yep.
I was excited. It is a tight
It doesn't
story.
have any downtime. It doesn't have any bad transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
absolutely.
easy to follow. You don't need to know anything. And I loved it. It was one of my favorite parts of the day, hands down. I also love the show. You'll have to see, but
Mhm.
the show deals a lot with baby dragons.
Yes.
And I want everyone to
Oh.
meet our other co-host.
Oh, hello.
This is
Yes.
my baby dragon.
Okay, he can do
So
the show with when I can take a week off and you
yes,
can do the show
that's
without me.
perfect. So I will tell you one, I think my favorite experience of the day, there is a gift shop right outside of this theater.
Yes.
And much like the show, it deals with the hatchery where the baby dragons are born on the Isle of Berk. And they have a baby dragon adoption. So you pick your egg and then they do this whole show. I haven't posted it yet because I took a lot of video of it. It was so much fun. I did it. There's someone on a drum. Everyone in the store says congrats to you. And then the baby comes obviously in an egg, but it's a necklace. So I walked and it clips in and I walked around all day with my baby dragon and it was just so much fun. And those are the little details.
Yeah.
Obviously the rides are amazing, but what stuck with me is all the little things.
Yeah.
That is what makes a difference for me. And just that alone, like, why did I love this baby dragon so much? Why did I buy other baby dragon stuff? Because it's so cool and it was so special. And every one of you have kids, you have to do this or just go on your own and do it.
Yeah. I mean, this is really the key to a successful theme park, going back to the original Disneyland, is like you open people's hearts and they in turn will open their wallets.
Yep.
You
My
make
heart
someone
was-
cry and they're going to want to buy something to remember that moment.
Yes, I got there's a baby dragon charm bracelet. I just was like unstoppable in that store. It's so good. And then after was when I met Toothless. Did you get to meet Toothless as well?
That my biggest disappointment, the one thing I told my VIP guide I really needed to do that we did not do was meet Toothless. And
It's
I've
okay. He will
seen
be there.
everyone's pictures touching him on the forehead. I did that with my cat. My cat did not appreciate it quite as much as Toothless does. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
looking forward to
was
the opportunity.
cute. Also, I got to spend a little time in Mead Hall, which is
Did not
gorgeous.
set foot in a single
Oh
restaurant inside the
no.
park.
You know,
Nope.
I am like aggressive on a tour, so if I
You
want
are
to
good.
off, I just go because there was so much, really so much to see. I skipped the boat ride for this because I didn't want to get soaking wet.
I did the same. I also did not do the spin and puke. I did
No,
not need to go
yes.
upside down.
So I
Did you
made
do
some
the roller
choices.
coaster though?
I did, and I will tell you, this was one of my biggest shocks of the day. I thought this was going to be a kiddie coaster. This was not a kiddie coaster. This was kind of intense,
Yeah.
thrilling, good length. I loved going over the water. It was probably the most like shocking thing because it was not on my list of hype.
In the same way that Minecart Madness was my biggest disappointment for a ride, this was my biggest positive surprise. People had talked to told me, "Oh, it's like Slinky Dog," and I'm not a
No,
huge
it's not.
Slinky Dog
No.
fan. It has, I think it is like kids' first Hagrid. Like
Yeah.
it is just below the level of Hagrid in terms of thrill and length and stuff. It doesn't have a drop track, but you do get an intentional rollback. You get some storytelling and basic animatronics. I thought the animatronic of Toothless that launches you at the beginning was so adorable.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
And
this
it felt
was
fulfilling.
intense.
It felt like it had a good length to it. I didn't end it feeling like, oh, that needed more, like some other attractions in the park.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this is like a stepping stone. So if your kids
Yeah.
have done like Barnstormer or Flight
Yeah.
of Photograph, this is not like a
Perfect.
Velocicoaster. This is
Yes. Perfect stepping stone. You know, you've done Hippogriff. This is your next one up for sure.
Yeah. And just going over the water was really
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that whole second, it actually reminded me a lot of Cheetah Hunt
Yes.
at Busch Gardens. That interaction, that low curves, really really fun. Just great vibes. The whole land, great vibes.
Yeah. I actually spent like besides Dark, this is where I spent a good bulk of time. At Mead Hall, there is an exclusive mead that Universal created in partnership
I
with
heard.
Florida
Yeah.
Meadery. I do not like mead. It's honey based. If you're not familiar, it's usually cloyingly sweet. This was perfect. I also made my friend who hates mead try it. Loved it. Notes of boysenberry. It is like perfect. We just sat there for like 10 minutes and enjoyed it and soaked up the space. Even if you don't want to eat or drink there, go in and look at it. They'll let you. It's incredible.
Next time we're there, I am making sure that I'm sticking with you for the VIP
Yes.
tour
Yeah.
because you get to do all the best stuff.
Oh.
All right. We got to go now through the portal into 1920s Wizarding Paris for Harry Potter and the Ministry of Magic. This was my personal most anticipated land. Battle at the Ministry was my most anticipated ride. And I gotta honestly say, I was not disappointed in anything I experienced. You got to experience something in Wizarding World that was a little disappointing. But first, let's cover the positive, and that's it's gorgeous. It really looks like Montmartre. I have pictures of us sitting in the real Paris at a cafe just like this, looking at a street just like this, and it is
I
stunning.
am with you 100%. Paris is one of my favorite cities in the world, and I always stay in Montmartre. I've stayed there probably like 8 times now. It was weird. I kept taking pictures and sending it to my family, and I'm like, I am literally in Paris. They knocked it out of the park. This is where I want to go, get a drink, sit at the cafe, and just sit outside. It is unreal.
I will say the only thing they did not nail was the smell, and I am very glad for that because it still has that new theme park smell. It does not smell like cheap French cigarettes and other things like the real Montmartre does. But it's beautiful to walk around, and the scale of it, like Diagon Alley will feel very cramped and intimate in comparison. It's nice wide streets. The shops that I went into seem to have a little more elbow room.
Yes.
It
That's actually one of
definitely,
the questions I got the most was people were asking about, the crowd flow. Every walkway feels really wide. Obviously, it
much,
wasn't full
yeah,
capacity, but if you're used to walking through Hogsmeade, which is like a
yes.
nightmare, this is like triple the width.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very, very much more roomy. And lots of lovely little windows. I love this little animatronic guy from Fantastic Beasts that you can peek through one of the windows and see him in there. But the reason everyone is going to rush to this first when it opens is for Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. This is a ride we have been talking about for literally years. It's got an elaborate walkthrough queue where you get to go through the Metro Flue with a neat little puff of smoke effect and some lighting, and you end up in the Ministry Hall, which looks just like the photos that they showed us. They nailed it.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. It's really hard to even explain the scale, the
yeah.
height of this. It is just
I I was
amazing.
editing my videos, and like I kind of ruined my videos in a couple spots by just kind of like squealing like a fangirl. Like I'd walk in and went, ooh, like
I mean, that was us.
involuntarily.
Yeah,
Like
it was the whole day because it's crazy, we're used to covering a land opening or just a ride. This was like overwhelming in the best
yes,
way because there
it's
was
like a
just so much.
fire hose
Yeah.
of content. But I think that they took everything that they had learned from the Forbidden Journey queue and the Gringotts queue and just plussed it all, took it all to the next level. Just the amount of tile throughout this whole queue
I
is
want my bathroom to have
stunning,
those tiles.
right?
It's like a
Right.
beautiful green, blue, aqua. I don't
I,
even know how to explain it. It's just so
I
pretty.
don't know how they're going to keep it clean.
Yeah.
uh, but you get to go through the
Blush.
whole ministry. You get to see Harry, Ron, and Neville's lockers. You get to go into Dolores's office and have a moment with Higgledy, which is this animatronic house elf that she is just so articulate and just amazing animation of that animatronic. The queue alone, I think if you're a kind of person who doesn't do rides, the
Just go
queue
through the
alone
queue.
is going to have plenty to keep you entertained. And then as for the attraction itself, like it's one of those things that really left me speechless. The only thing I can compare it to is the very first time I rode Spider-Man back in 1999 during testing, and no one had talked about what it was or how it was going to work. And
Right.
there was never a 3D ride like that before. And Spider-Man jumps on your car, and like, what's going on? I had several of those "what's going on" moments where I couldn't tell what was physical, what was digital, what was an animatronic. Just
This is the common theme I had throughout my entire day was everything was blending together in the
it
best possible way. I
it
was like, "Is that an
it
actor? Is that an animatronic? I
it
don't know."
it really is like a fever dream. The ride system, when the car pulls up, it looks like it's like a Tower of Terror
Yeah.
kind of car where you've got a seat with a seat belt, and then you slide sideways into these absolutely massive scenes. And it's hard to tell how big the scenes are because they are physical, but then they are these digital screens that they're not 3D, there's no glasses. But because of the shifting perspective, it's so hard for your brain to tell. Kind of like the giant video wall in the Born Stuntacular
Mhm.
is so sharp that you can't tell which people are real and which are on the screen. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, so
I
this
was
is
just
like
schooled over and over.
right, this is like Willy Wonka Wonkavator. You're going up,
Absolutely,
down,
yes,
and all around, and that's like the
yes,
only way I could describe it.
yeah.
I also do wanna know if you have a back or neck injury, I probably wouldn't go on it. Some of the thrusting from when we launched out of the loading station,
Oh
I was
yeah.
not expecting that, and I kinda, like, tweaked my neck a little bit.
There is definitely some sideways and up and down jolting. People are asking me if there were drops, and it's so hard to say because it is not Tower of Terror. You're
No,
not going multiple stories.
you're just
Um,
going
I,
all around.
I, I would compare the feeling of it more like in Rise of the Resistance when you have that brief drop from the escape pod, but having that multiple times and not just going up and down, but also kind of sideways and around. There are moments where you're moving forward, but you feel like you're falling down, and I can't even explain it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's almost like, I don't know how this weird comparison, but like a bumblebee, how they kind of just like in their own
yeah.
orbit, going up and down and all around, where the motion is fluid most of the time,
Mhm.
minus some thrusting, which
But
is why
there's definitely some intense, like, there are some physically thrilling moments. I wouldn't call it a thrill ride. It's definitely a dark ride, but there are definitely some bumps and jolts around there. But then visually, uh, Universal was always a step behind Disney when it came to animatronics, and I think some of these, especially the Death Eater,
oh my God.
there's a
Yeah.
moment where you pull in, and I won't spoil exactly what happens, but there's just ranges of motion to this that it reminds me of the first time I saw the Wicked Witch in the old Great Movie Ride,
Ugh,
and I thought
yeah.
that's got to be an actor. That same kind of feeling, like, how does a robot move that fast, that
I
smooth?
screamed when we saw it because it literally was, I
I
thought it was an
did
actor too, but I was like, no, that's kind of a weird position for an
Yeah,
actor to be in.
yeah, yeah.
Very fluid. It's
And
bizarre.
speaking of actors, there are animatronics of Daniel Radcliffe, of Ron, Kingsley Shacklebolt at the end, and also Imelda Staunton. And they have both ones that are, animatronics, and also there's one of Dolores Umbridge that's a new type of projection face that I think maybe still needs a little tweaking to the
Mhm.
projection. The video, I got what they were going for, but it didn't totally work for me. But I thought the sculpts on the actors that they did, I thought it was way better than, like, General Hux in the there's no Ellen's Energy Adventure kind
No,
of,
no.
bad, or Donald Trump as Hillary Clinton kind of
Right, right.
sculpt here. I thought the
Yeah.
sculpts of the actors were all really solid.
Harry Potter was especially like,
Yeah, yeah, and I need to go on it again. One time through was not enough to process everything that happened. It's a long ride too. It's
yeah.
close to 5 minutes. It's about, I'd say, 30 seconds or so longer than any of the other Harry Potter rides, and I think it feels like a full story. It feels like a whole adventure.
It does. And
Um,
again, like if you are not familiar with anything with Harry Potter, you can go on and it's a cohesive story.
mhm,
I understood everything that was going on. I mean, I do know Harry Potter, but it
yeah,
is very easy to follow,
yeah.
which I appreciate. We were the first ones to go on it that morning because our
Oh,
guide got a text from them that they're like, we're ready, come.
uh-huh.
So we ran there. When we pulled into the station at the end, I mean, it was incredible. It was a fever dream though, but all of Universal Creative that designed it was
Yeah.
waiting for us and clapping.
Oh,
And I
wonderful.
cried because I'm like,
Oh,
I'm never
yes.
gonna forget this.
Yes, absolutely. It really is an absolutely unforgettable moment. I know I was one of the first people to ride Forbidden Journey when the previews started on
Mhm.
that. I was literally like in the third or fourth car on the that ever went out on Gringotts. I remember the feelings for all of those. My first ride on Ministry topped those. I can't. There are very few times in my life in a theme park that I've experienced anything like the pure wonder, the pure holy s moments, one
Yeah.
after another. I just loved it, and I can't wait to go back and do it again. That is only one attraction, though. There is another attraction that I did not get to experience personally. We waited in line for this and got kicked out because of technical difficulties before even the pre-show started. So please give me your burning hot take on Cirque Arcanu, the stage show inside
Yes.
Louisiana.
I'll just be blunt. I did not love it. I love the pre-show. So you go into a circus tent, but it is air conditioned. I was worried about that. The pre-show is amazing. You sit in the theater, beautiful theater. I was just really underwhelmed. It's not really a circus. So there are like two circus acts, but they were like really basic level circus acts. I won't spoil it.
Mm,
The storyline, me and my friend were like, are we in a suitcase? It was convoluted. They need to retool it. I love the two characters that are in it are fantastic. I love seeing the Fantastic Beasts, their costume characters.
mm,
Amazing to see those. So cute. I kind of at the end sort of understood what was happening. there needs to be some work done on it, which is I also heard from TMs at the preview that there needs to be something here. It could be great. It's just not a tight show. It's all over the place. It was confusing.
The only, I have some good friends who are working on that show, and I know they're talented people and hard workers, and I'm sure that they're working to fix whatever issues.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know they've had a lot of technical issues. A lot of shows have been canceled. When I heard that our VIP guide was taking us to one of the last shows of the day, I was like, you think it's going to make it? Because I haven't heard of it making it to the last show of the day yet. So hopefully that will improve, because honestly, like a theater show, especially when you've got people are going to wait 5, 6, 7 hours for Battle of the Ministry. Looking at that queue, I have no doubt that queue is built to accommodate like opening day of Hagrid kind of lines. And I think there are people who are going to come to the park, buy a ticket, do nothing but Battle of the Ministry, and walk out happy. I think it's that good for me. But I think you need, if you're going to have the secondary attraction of land be a show, that show needs to be a people eater that can
That's what I thought.
Turn an audience every hour, not run 3 performances a day and cancel 2 of them.
Well, and also the problem is the Untrainable Dragon stage show is incredible. Like as a live theater lover, amazing. So I went from that to the Harry Potter show, and it was just
not the
such
same
a
standard.
letdown, you know. After
fortunately, Untrainable Dragon is running. I think they were doing like 8 or 10 shows a day when I saw, and they that seats 850 people. So, not quite a people eater on an hourly capacity, but still seems to be better than Cirque Arcanu is doing.
Oh, absolutely. And other positives, the land is amazing. There's lots of little nooks and crannies and details. I didn't see personally any of the roaming characters, but I know a lot of people did.
I spotted a few, but didn't get to interact. I saw some students that looked great.
Yes,
I know people who met.
Video. I popped into Le Goblet Noir, the cafe, and Moonshine Bar. I didn't get to try anything there, but very cool venues. The cafe blew me away.
Yeah.
It was fancy. It was really nice.
Yes, the Café La Sirene. I looked in and I was like, oh, I can't afford to eat here.
Yes. Oh my god, it was like I walked into a 4-star hotel, like a Four Seasons in Paris.
Yes,
I was really
the like polished brass and the glass, and it's very, very sumptuous. And the other one, the Goblet Noir, you've got these different rooms that all have these kind of ancient looking stone and wood and stuff. But the one thing that is a little too modern for me, the Goblet Noir, is there's no menus. You walk in and it's confusing to even like you don't see any cashiers, you don't see any menus, you don't even know where to go. If you want to eat or drink anything at this park, you better install the app and figure out how to use mobile ordering, because otherwise you're going to go hungry.
Yes, I will say almost every concept at this place uses their new like fast casual mobile order system, like Minion Cafe. A lot. I personally, when I walked into Le Goblet Noir, was a cashier talking to people because everyone was like, "What do we do? Where do we go?" You know.
And they explained it to me, and I still wasn't sure what.
Same. I will say it is. I love spending time in Diagon Alley. I go to Hopping Pot, grab a beer, and then sit down. I wish there was something here that I could quickly grab, like a drink to sit down and people watch. Because everything minus the moonshine is really much smaller than I anticipated, and it's just a walk-up stand. You have to do that table number and then mobile order a beer and then get it and then sit outside at the cafe. And it could take a while. You know, some people were waiting a minute. Obviously, this is early, but the Moonshine Bar will be your best bet if you want to just like go grab a drink at a traditional walk-up stand and sit.
That's a great tip. All right.
I thought of. I love this park because there are water bottle refilling machines.
I noticed that. I noticed the water fountains mostly have water bottle refilling machines.
And they're really nicely themed too. Like they're in Harry Potter, I saw a good one. And that just for me is like so great to be able to easily do that without having to go to a, a Coke freestyle machine, which always like backs up. So I love that element.
And like the other parks, I saw Coke freestyle machines in all the lands all of the worlds except the Wizarding World. I don't believe I saw a freestyle machine in the Wizarding
You were
World.
right. I did not see one there either.
Yep. So keep that in mind if you are buying a freestyle cup. All right, that is going to bring us to the end of the Wizarding World. Before we get into our final and most anticipated land, let us hear a brief word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MEI-Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI-Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction!
And for this week's main attraction is Carly's most anticipated epic universe world, the Dark Universe, home to Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, and the rest of the Universal classic monsters. And, I've also been looking forward to this for a very long time, and they nailed it. They from the first moment you enter Darkmoor and see the gravestones and see the buildings, you are in an old black and white horror movie. And if you're a Monsters fan, this is your new home.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. As a horror fan my entire life, coming in here was just unreal. You see Frankenstein catacombs, there's fog. It's just like, it's so moody from the second you, and it's also like you kind of turn a corner to walk in, so there is a bit of that reveal factor.
Yes.
I also
Each
love
of the lands
walking
has a
in.
really nice reveal to it. And this is definitely, I want to walk in at night.
Oh,
It was killing me that they closed the park at 7 p.m. and they didn't turn the lights on until after we had left the park. I want to see this in its glory at nighttime.
yes.
Because I
So
think it's gonna be
I
amazing.
stayed till the bitter end, about 7:30. So I did get to see it as the sun was starting to set and the lights started to come on.
Yes.
Obviously, it was not dark by any means, but it even looked like 10 times better seeing it like that, which was so this at night is going to be incredible. There's street performers, which I love seeing live entertainment in the street. You know,
Yes.
you're gonna read on the portal entry, it's alive. That is like the perfect
Yes.
description of this land. It's alive.
I interacted a little with the Invisible Man, who,
Oh
if you
my
don't remember the original film, he was a jerk. And
He was a jerk to the influencers.
he
And I
is
was
just,
loving
yes,
watching.
he is a sarcastic. I love it when theme park characters don't have to be nice to you.
Yes,
And
the
he is
best job.
definitely in that tradition. So interact with him. I saw a violinist, and what I liked about them is that they weren't just like sort of like making a huge circle of people around them. They were getting intimate and like having moments one-on-one, or with small groups of people. That's what I really love.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw, there's a violinist that roams. I then
Yeah.
also saw a small stage with a violinist that came up and did like a
Oh.
little show. But yeah, I mean, it makes it feel alive. The Invisible Man, like you said, was incredible. I watched him for like 20 minutes.
Oh my.
There's so much about this land.
Yeah. The kind of the weenie is this burning windmill. This is the Burning Blade Tavern, which you went into, but I did not. I did not go into any of the restaurants, unfortunately,
Oh,
but I
boy.
did get to see this burst into flame. This is going to happen every so often, multiple times an hour. And it really looked cool the way each blade kind of bursts individually. And there was music building up and then this huge blast out of the center. And you hear Frankenstein moaning. It's a great little show.
Yes, and I will say, so the thing with the Dragon and Diagon Alley is there's like a whole like lead up, and you don't know when it's gonna happen. Essentially, this is really easy because there's chimes, so you're gonna hear the big bell ding, and when the bell dings is when this will go. So when you hear the bell, look.
When you hear the bell, go to the windmill.
Yes. So I'm very lucky. I got to spend about an hour in the Burning Blade Tavern. It is, I think, my favorite theme park bar ever. So
that is high praise coming from you.
Oh my God, I love it. So basically it's inside, obviously underneath the windmill that's on fire. It is so moody. So if you don't know the theming, it is where the hunters, the vampire hunters,
Mm-hmm.
hang out and convene and share their, bounty hunts.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to have garlic hanging on the walls. The menu, I also ordered the entire menu. I had to. I was anticipating. It was also 50% off because it was a preview. So I got everything for like $30. We got every single thing. It is all garlicky, which I'm a huge garlic person. The pretzel. If you get anything there, please get pretzel with cheese dip. It's in the shape of a steak, of course. It was amazing. You have to get the Reaper's Reserve is the exclusive Dark Universe beer that is brewed with a local Florida brewery. It is a brown ale with notes of cinnamon. It tastes like Christmas. I like it even better than the exclusive Wizarding World beers.
Wow.
And I love Wizard's Brew.
Is it a different brewery that does? I think it's Florida beer that does.
Yeah, it's a different brewery. I know what it is. I wrote it down
Wizarding
somewhere. But yes, a local Florida
Great.
brewery. But the thing about this bar, it's alive. The hunters come and hang out with you. I spent about an hour with one of them. They break out into almost like a sea shanty, but it's themed to their hunting conquests. And everyone interacts. We're all kind of like drumming on the table, and they break out and then they scream, "To the hounds!" And they do these like cheers that they initiate with the guests, and they come right in your face. They have these little like cloak things on, and it was just amazing. And the light fixtures kind of like flicker, so it gives you that like you're almost in like a candle lit, old school bar. It was amazing. It's alive. Everything I ate was actually really good. There was a burger that was really great. There's a baked potato, which I love a good little, like if you need like a little carby snack, you're running around. So good to have. And unlike the jack of potatoes in Wizarding World, you could sit down. So there are tables in this restaurant, or it's a bar. So it's a bar. There's tables in here. I will say, just so you know about how the food and drink works. Drinks order at the bar. The food is mobile order only from a pickup window outside, which I love.
Oh,
Bartenders would be overwhelmed if you've ever got the pasties at Hopping Pot. It's too much for them to have to like run back. I love this. Order a beer, sit down. You don't have to do like the table number thing. You just do mobile order and you pick it up outside.
I always find that the window order pickup works better than table service delivery.
It's so much easier. And you could sit, and it's dark, and it's perfect.
Well, I say it is going to be hot this summer. It is a hot park. So a place to sit with a cold drink is definitely going to be needed.
Yes. And also on food, I also went into Lost Steakhouse. I didn't have time to eat anything there, but I explored.
This is the vampires
yes. So this is vampire
restaurant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you will not find garlic on the menu. I was blown away. It's like you go down into the catacombs. It's dark with these chairs are like arched wood. It's amazing. You have to go in there and look. It was just like stunning to see with art murals on the wall, very dark, but with like pops of like vampire red. It was amazing.
Well, enough about the food and drinks.
Yes,
let's talk about
lot.
the two attractions. We got to do both of them. Did you get to do both of them?
I didn't get to do Mummy because it was delayed.
Curse of the Werewolf?
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. So I did get to ride Curse of the Werewolf. And in some ways, this was, I knew this was just going to be a family coaster. I knew this was not going to be as intense as Ride to Happiness or Time Travel or some of the other spinning mock roller coasters of a similar model. But it actually had a bit more spin than I thought. It had a bit more kick than I expected. You get very brief glimpses of a werewolf animatronic inside the kind of a shed that you go through, and it's not up to the standards of the animatronics that some of the other attractions have. It's basically
it's not
just
as dimensional, right? It's just.
I mean, it didn't like jump out or anything at me. It's just kind of there, and it maybe has a little movement. But honestly, it didn't add, I would say, very much. Maybe if I do it at night, it'll be more obvious. But So it's basically baby's first cosmic rewind. Like,
Hmm.
you get a little bit of that cosmic rewind kind of feeling going around the curves as you spin, but unfortunately, just when it's starting to get good, it's over.
Yeah.
It needs another 400 or 500 feet of track, and it would be, a really solid coaster as is. Again, I put it ahead of like a Flight of the Hippogriff, but I preferred Hiccup Swing Gliders as a family coaster for
Yeah.
sure over Werewolf.
Hiccups, it was just all around. I mean, pretty perfect.
Yeah.
I have no notes on that. I was bummed to not go on this. I will go on it.
Mhm.
What I heard from my friends that have done Time Traveler is it was spinning way more and a little bit more disorienting, because on Time Traveler, I don't get any sickness or
Yeah.
anything. So it's
Yeah,
very slow
it spun a lot more than I expected.
Yeah.
And there just needs to be more of it. Also, there's a figure of Maleva, the mystic, at the end that I did not see move. So I don't know if that's supposed to be moving or if it's supposed to be just a static figure. Um,
How much
but
did you wait for this?
20 minutes
Mhm.
or so. I would, if it's choice between Minecart or this one, I actually kind of enjoyed this more as a coaster than I did Minecart. Um, but either way, the problem is this one I think is going to be very capacity limited. Like Hiccup Swing Gliders has two loading sides. Um, Minecart uses a moving walkway. This just they were not sending trains often at all, even though they had a very full queue when I was there. And if I hadn't had a VIP tour guide, I definitely would have skipped this.
Yeah.
But one thing I will never ever skip is Monsters Unchained. That's the final e-ticket that we have to talk about today. That is the headliner ride. And when I got off of Battle of the Ministry, I was like, nothing can top Battle of the Ministry. For me, Monsters comes pretty darn close. They're real neat neck and neck, and I'm gonna have to ride them both like 100 more times to decide which one I like better.
I know that's so hard because only going on something once,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love, like, when you go to like a media preview for an attraction, you can go on it like 15 times and it helps you like make a more informed
Mhm.
opinion. But with this, I left and I was like, that is the best ride I've ever been on. That's how I feel.
It has. I mean, it definitely has all of the elements to be. It's in my top 5.
Mhm.
I'll say that for sure. And my top 5 has definitely shuffled around this week.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. So we've talked about this before, but this is sort of the next generation of the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey Cuckoo Robo Arm ride system, except instead of the arm being on the back of your chair, it's underneath your chair. And you wouldn't think that would make a huge difference, but it feels different to me. Like, Forbidden Journey is all about kind of like floating and flying. This feels more mechanical, more being not necessarily jerky, but being snapped around. They show, there's a pre-show where they demonstrate a scale model of one of the ride
I
vehicles,
love
and
that.
thank God it does not actually spin around quite as hard as the pre-show demonstration, because if
Yeah.
it did, there would be just puke everywhere. Like, no one would survive if it was really that bad. But I
Yeah.
did feel like it was a more aggressive, dynamic, um not necessarily more motion sickness, because you don't have any of those domes, you don't have any of that motion simulator feeling, but you are getting like back on your back, on
You
your
were like
side,
backwards
being
and upside
spun
down at
around
one point. Yeah.
back. Yeah. You're never completely head over heels, but you do flip around quite a bit. It definitely is dynamic, and just visually, I've heard that there are still some effects that aren't totally working yet. I don't know what they are, because I was just so blown away with all the effects that I did see. The animatronics, the flames, the projections, the physical props, everything is just overwhelming. Like, it is really an assault on the senses.
It was, I mean, the Dracula animatronics are
Hmm.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
The height of this guy, I mean, people are going to be like thirsting after him. He's like a
Dracula's
14 foot
really
tall-
big.
Yeah.
He's really big.
Yeah.
He's really fluid, and the sculpts on all of them are, I when it first they showed the new concept, the new reimaginings of all these characters, and some people were like, "Oh, that doesn't look like Bela Lugosi. That doesn't look like." The, I feel like when you see it all in context, the aesthetic of it all works together so well. Like I
Yeah.
believe these versions of the characters all live in this universe together.
Same. I
Um,
honestly didn't even think about that because
yeah,
it was so cohesive and
yeah.
perfect. And the ride's long too, which I
It is.
love.
It's about 4.5 minutes, but it's really dense. There's no dead time. There's no like slow parts. And it just keeps building and building and building. I have a few constructive criticisms about it. One is that anytime I lean forward to look out at stuff, I stop being able to hear the audio that comes out of the headset
Mm.
behind you. So I kept having to kind of force myself to sit back so that I could hear the dialogue.
Which I think you
Um,
should do anyway, because if you get motion sickness, like on
Probably,
Forbidden Journey, you
yeah,
should really just keep your head in place.
probably
So
yes. I
I'm
probably
I'm
shouldn't be
very,
leaning
like
forward, but
I'm very
um,
cognizant of that because I do get sick sometimes. I didn't feel it at all on this ride.
oh,
I
good.
was golden, yeah.
Good. And I also have a moment towards the end where I get kind of confused. Spoiler alert. There's Dracula, and there's a finale involving Dracula and sunlight. And I don't know if maybe an effect just didn't, but I didn't quite get what happened at the end
Yes.
when I wrote
So, again, a spoiler,
it.
Dracula is the bad guy in this.
Yes. And
So,
Frankenstein, thank God they recognize that Frankenstein is the good guy.
yes.
And he's very sympathetic. He is like kind of heroic in this ride. And I love that version of him.
Yeah, my ride, I was also in like early, right when it opened. It was the first
Hmm.
thing I did at Epic Universe. Our guide, who had been on it many times, said it was about 95%.
Okay.
That's what we got. There
Okay.
was some lighting and stuff that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that was the end,
I,
which again, I also was like a little confused,
yeah.
but it was just the lighting. But we got all the animatronics, like
Yes.
all of the scenes were working.
And something I have to say about the animatronics, particularly in the pre-show, the animatronic of Victoria Frankenstein uses some sort of hybrid of animatronic and projection mapping animation on her face. Her facial expressions and her lip sync are like nothing I've ever seen. I was going back and looking at videos I took of the pre-show, and I still don't quite get it, because when I first walked into the room, I thought it was an actress, because
Yeah.
she has a life in her eyes and in her muscle, facial expressions that is just not there with other animatronics. It doesn't
Yeah.
just look like projected, like in Anna and Elsa in Frozen Ever After. It's some new kind of it's even better than the Dolores in the Ministry ride. I don't know how they did
Right.
it,
Yeah.
but it is great.
That pre-show definitely set the
Oh my
tone.
god.
It was incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, you'll see videos online because we were allowed to film it.
Hmm.
With the ride itself, my realities were completely blended. There were
Hmm.
physical set pieces, there were screens, there was animatronics, and it
Yeah.
all worked together. Whereas, when you go on like a ride that's a screen ride, like a
Hmm.
Gringotts, it's a lot of screens.
Yeah.
There were screens in this, but it was lighter on the screens and more on physical set pieces and
And
animatronics.
they're more like windows into a deeper set. Like you'll have a big physical
Yeah.
set, but then to continue it, you'll have, and sometimes there were layers, almost like a Musin effect, where you'd have
Right.
a digital projection way in the background, and then another digital character that was closer up on a closer layer, almost like holographic. Yeah, so much stuff going on, so much technology. Yeah, I could go on and talking about it for quite a while. I need to ride it again to decide whether I like it better than Ministry or not. But I'm confident saying that Monsters and Ministry together are the two best rides in Orlando right now. I think that they are more sophisticated than Rise of the Resistance, more fun than Guardians of the Galaxy. They are better than any of the existing Harry Potter rides. Like, my new standard of what a 5-star ride now changes, because like for me, this is a new bar. This is
Yeah.
a new level of what a theme park ride can do.
So I'm glad you said that, because I left that day and I thought, how am I going to go back? You know what I mean? How am I going to go to
I
other
can't go to Magic Kingdom and
because it's next level. I mean, it's like so cheesy to say that phrase,
Mhm.
but this is where the bar is now set.
Mhm.
And I think this inched out Ministry for me just for one sole reason.
Mhm.
We're talking about it was confusing to know what was real, what was animatronic.
Mhm.
I felt that the entire experience.
Yeah.
I felt that also during some moments of Ministry, but I felt that the entire time where my world was like, what is going on? What is
Yeah.
this? Is this an actor? Is this real? I felt that like the whole time my jaw was just dropped for a
And
solid 10 minutes.
and I will say that the one edge that this has over Ministry is that there were times, especially the first half of Ministry, I thought to myself, there are a lot of screens here where you have parts that are like 80% screen and 20% physical elements.
Mhm.
Whereas this, I felt like it was more like 60% physical, maybe 40% screen.
Exactly. And I feel like that makes a big difference
Yeah.
because again, we talk about, Universal admits they were heavy in the screen attractions for
Yeah.
so long, and those are such one note.
Mhm.
This is like, I didn't even care about the screens. Whatever, it's
Yeah.
okay because it just enhanced it as opposed to being the
Mhm.
main part of it.
But I really do. I said it in my little quick take review that I posted. I think if you spend a day in this park, you get to walk around, you see all the vibes, you see all the places, but the only two rides you do are Monsters and Ministry. I think you could walk out happy. Like, I
I
think
think
you could
so.
have a full, fulfilling day. Back in the day, we always used to say, that guests needed to ride 9 major attractions in the course of a day to feel like they got their money's worth from a full price ticket. And I didn't ride 9 major attractions. I did like 6 major attractions and a couple minor ones.
Yes.
And I wanted more. I wanted to come back, but I also felt fulfilled.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. And this is why, like, we did the big rides, and then our guide was like, you can go off on your own if you don't
mhm,
want to, go on whatever. My car, I took the option to go off because
mhm,
exactly like you said, like, this is like an Epcot where there's so
yeah,
much to do and see. And, I'm already anticipating when, if they
yeah.
announce the pass holder preview. And I told my husband, Adam, let's just go eat and drink and feel everything. We don't need to go on anything, and I will have the best day ever.
A- And I think that's what really impresses me about because I feel like before this, each of the Orlando theme parks for me serves a different purpose. Like if I want to ride a roller coaster, I go to this park. If I want to drink around the world, I go to this park.
Mhm.
If I want dark rides, I go to this park. This is the first time we've had a park where like if I wanted to do any of those things, I could go to this park and I could have a full day of just walking around and vibing and drinking. I could have a full day of hardcore doing coasters. Yeah, but and you could have either of those days at this park. And I was afraid before I got to see it that it wouldn't be well balanced enough, that it would just be about rushing to the e-tickets and that there wasn't going to be enough depth in the secondary and tertiary attractions. After spending a day and realizing that I need to spend so much more time to see everything, I'm not as worried about that anymore.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
honestly like there's really something for everyone. Like
mhm,
Super Nintendo World, I love it. It's great. Kids are gonna like freak out
yeah,
there. Isle of Berk, they're gonna freak out. Us adults that like horror are gonna freak out in Dark Universe. There's
mhm,
the Harry Potter people are gonna freak out there. So we
yeah.
really kind of taps into every
There,
single
there
thing.
is, yeah, there is something for pretty much everyone here. And even if you walk in and you don't know any of these IPs, somehow you've been living under a rock for the last 50 years and you've never heard of any of these,
Yeah.
I think you could still just enjoy the detail, the care. This is I had the kind of reaction when I went to Tokyo and to Tokyo Disney Seas, that the rides were good, but it was the vibes, it was the sense of place that really made me fall in love with that park. And I have a similar kind of feeling about Epic. It's There's nothing, I gotta say, there's nothing quite on the level of like walking into that Mediterranean harbor and seeing the volcano.
Mhm.
It's still worth the flight to Tokyo for that. But short of that, I don't think that there's anything else that like matches looking out over Celestial Park or looking into 20s Paris, in terms of just really truly immersing you in a park in this country right now.
Yeah, and I left like sad, even though I was so
Yeah,
happy and so
I
grateful.
was so sad that we had to leave. I want this park to be open to midnight or 11 o'clock or whatever. I
I
want to just
also,
hang out here at night.
we both have annual passes. We're
Yeah,
not gonna be able to add this. So like I'm also sad about
um,
that because it's really gonna be like a year before we could really be like, oh, let's go
yeah,
like have a drink at,
yes,
Celestini. It's that good.
yeah,
Uh I just can't wait. I'm definitely gonna be buying 1-day tickets when I
yeah.
wanna go. I definitely want to do a VIP tour. We also have to talk about the merchandise. I could have spent thousands of dollars. It is so good. I mean, in every portal, all of the merch was wonderful.
Yeah.
The Isle of Berk merch was really special. The Celestial Park merch with the
Mhm.
little Mr. Cacao, whatever his name is. I wanted to buy all of his stuff. I mean, the Burning Blade Tavern, Dark Universe merch. It was really good. Like they
Yeah.
stepped up their game because sometimes in the past I haven't been like thrilled about a lot of the merch. It is
Mhm.
next level, like sort of like the Asia parks where they have the best merch. This is like on that level.
I gotta say the one store that was not yet open was the Moonship chocolate shop. But I talked to an
No.
employee who had a Captain Cacao toy and told me his whole story. And I can't wait to meet him when his store finally opens. I didn't take much time to actually buy anything, but it does. I'm glad to see that there's just a lot of original, unique merch branded just for the park. It's not generic stuff you're going to find in any other toy store, which is cool.
But I will say, like, I'm wearing the Epic Universe hat. I do like
Mhm.
the merch that's just for Epic
Yeah.
Universe. It has a really kind of like
Mhm.
vintagey feel with
Yeah.
like cream color. I mean, again, it's really great. There's so much. I mean, you're gonna like save your money, bring your AP. I actually forgot my annual pass, so I bought stuff and didn't get a discount, which kind of hurt.
Oh
But
no.
I know. It's wonderful. I truly cannot wait to go back. I can't believe that we have a new park and it's this level and it's here in Florida. Like it's not like we have to fly to Tokyo to get something of this level.
Yeah. Seriously, this is going to save me a 12-hour flight, because if I want to go to the best theme park in the world, now I just have to drive down the street. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to make that judgment just based on 7 hours. Obviously there's a lot I didn't get to see and do, but I've had a lot of expectations. I have very high standards. I was looking for things that are not right, and I was just blown away. And I'm very grateful to everyone at Universal PR and every team member who are working really hard to make all that happen. They did a great job. They took great care of us, and very grateful for them on behalf of the whole attractions team for having us down.
Yes, it was so great to be there with all of you. We obviously couldn't be together because we were in separate groups, but it was amazing
Yeah.
that a bunch of us were there. I mean, Universal, I know like my rep was working like 12-hour days leading up to this, so I know
Mhm.
how crazy they
Oh,
had to prepare
absolutely.
for
Yep.
this. And I mean, it's a momentous occasion truly, and the hype in our mind. Obviously we've been talking about this and writing about it for years. It met it and then some.
I was there. I was an employee for Universal in the entertainment production special event department when Islands of Adventure opened. I know how much work it is opening one of these parks, and I got to say, they did better for this one than we did back in the day. We were just trying to hold it together back in the day, and
Yeah.
I feel like they got their act together. So I can't wait to be back and see you there for the grand opening in May.
Yes, I'm
Um,
so excited. So much more from all of us to share. Obviously, there's
yeah,
a lot.
yeah. There's still more to come. Still more to come. So we are going to wrap this up real quick by trying to say hi to some of the folks who dropped into the chat. See if you guys have any questions out there. And thank you, Blake Taylor, for joining in. Great work on all of your editing. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Jeremy had a suggestion, would love a Scooby-Doo story inside Dark Universe. Unfortunately, Scooby-Doo is Warner Brothers. If you want a Scooby-Doo dark ride, go to Abu Dhabi. The trackless Scooby-Doo and the Haunted Museum ride is one of the best dark rides in the world. Totally recommend it. But we're not going to see Scooby-Doo at Universal anytime soon. So we've got... let's see, who else do we have here in the chat? Michael McKay thinks that Zelda needs to come next. I did see some little references to Zelda. They have a shop with a stained glass window and some other Zelda decor. But I don't know if Epic Universe is the right place for Zelda. When you've already got Nintendo there, I would spread the Nintendo love and I would put Zelda into Lost Continent over at iOS.
Yes, absolutely perfect. And that stained glass is really gorgeous. Look up a picture.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Jeremy also thinks that they need a dragon tail pretzel. I did not get to eat anything in Berk. I did not see if they have anything like that, but there are several pretzels throughout the park.
There is a Frankenstein head pretzel in Dark Universe that looks like kind of like the Shrexel that I saw a little kid with. I didn't get to try it. There's the garlic pretzel and burning blade, so you could do like a little pretzel tour.
And we're going to end with a shout out to Michael Bingham's mom, who is very excited about Harry Potter, and that's going to be her favorite. I think it might be mine too, but I'll have to go and visit another 10 or 12 times to tell you for sure.
Yes. So when are we going to find out about annual passes?
My gut says that they are hoping to not need to sell any annual passes of this till next year. That'll be a 2026 thing. However, if you look at the stock market over the last few days, if you look at the way that people from other countries, Brazil, the UK, are now talking about not coming to the States, we will see whether, Epic Universe might not have an epic opening season for reasons way beyond Universal's control.
Right.
And if that happens and they need locals to take up the slack, maybe annual passes will open. I honestly think that has more to do with global economics at this point than what Universal wants to do.
Right.
So we will definitely keep an eye out.
What are your thoughts on pass holder previews?
I'm honestly a little surprised that they haven't announced something, especially now that the media has been there. They seem pretty confident that they can operate the park. And they've repeatedly extended TMs. It seems to me like the next logical step is to have paid pass holder previews. It's not going to be free. I think that it's going to be a lottery, and even if it is paid, they're still going to have more people wanting to do it than they can handle. But back in the day, those Animal Kingdom previews, I remember being like 20 something bucks. I did not pay a lot of money. I think you might pay $75 or $100 for this preview.
Kind of thinking. I also in my gut for some reason, I think this week they're going to announce something. I mean, this is just me like guessing, but I mean it's April 7th,
Yeah, it's but honestly, it's only April 7th. Like we are still way over a month away. If we get a month away from grand opening and they haven't announced any annual pass holder previews, then I'd start to be concerned. But a month out, that seems reasonable to me.
Right. And from our experience, everything I did was almost most of the things being 100%. So it is ready. Is there a world where they just won't do annual pass holder previews?
I honestly think the annual pass holder previews are less about pleasing the annual pass holders, which is a consideration, and more about these ops teams need time to train.
Yeah.
The one thing that we did not mention is ops. I went in hoping to time some cycles to try to get some theoretical dispatch. I gave up on that because every single attraction we went to, even if they did have a 45-minute queue of people waiting, there were just exceedingly long dispatch times, and I could not figure out what it would be like. Everything would seem to be in place, everyone would be seated, and then there would just be another minute or two before anything would happen, and that happened multiple places. So
it's
I think
too early for you to do that.
Yeah, I think they need bodies to help these ops train, and they they can't keep having. I guess they could keep having employees do it, but at a certain point, like you might as well make some money off of annual pass. To me, this is like the Tom Sawyer whitewashing the fence thing. It's like
Yes.
we have a task we need to do, and instead of paying someone to do it, we'll get them to pay us.
Yes.
So
Please. I will be there
yes,
signing up.
I volunteer as tribute.
Me too.
I'll ride Battle of the Ministry over and over until you get it right. Sure,
Yes.
I'll be
I
happy.
am already anticipating that lonely little bar waiting for me as I sit for hours in a virtual online queue. But you know
Yep.
what? I am ready.
I'm ready.
Get me
Well,
back.
Vince Lamb is here to say that this is a long podcast. It came and we're still on. Sorry, Vince. We will shut up now and leave you alone.
And thank you we have a lot of people here today, and everyone has stayed on.
Thank
you
you so much for listening. We've been wanting to have this conversation, have this experience, and talk about it with you for literally years. And I don't know, I might have a little depression this week. It's a good thing I'm going on 2 back-to-back cruises to take my mind off of it. Because it's like postpartum. Epic has come and gone for us, and that's a moment we'll never be able to have for the first time again. So
I know.
Thank you for sharing it all with us.
Yeah, I keep getting emotional because it's so true. It was like historic. And when I was making notes for this, there's so much more we could even share. But
Oh my
I just
God. Yeah,
was highlighting my top.
We just
takeaways.
scratched the surface, and there's still plenty more to talk about. I'm sure we'll be talking about Epic for years to come. Did you see that construction? There is a huge, like, warehouse-sized building going up right behind the Wizarding World that you can see from the lift hill from the hills on Stardust Racers. And I want to know what's going on with that.
I know. I have a feeling like with this park, they're going to be rock and rolling and thinking about the future.
I think they're already planning on
exactly.
what comes next and what comes after that too, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, we will be there for the whole
we got yes, many exciting years to come. All right. So yes, the rumor I've heard is that it is a parade building. Sure, a parade. I mean, that could, draw people out of the portals into Celestial Park if you do a parade around. But maybe that could be it. But it seems awfully big for a parade. I mean, it's a big building.
Yeah.
So we will see. Anyway, before we go, we want to give one last thank you to our sponsors, MEI and MEI-Travel, as well as Universal Travel. We can help get you to Epic Universe so you can have your own epic adventure.
Yay.
We also want to remind everyone to please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you happen to listen to us. And please give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube. Also, follow us at attractionsmagazine.com and search for Attractions Magazine on your favorite social media accounts. Carly, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Adventures by Carly, and I'm going to be slowly rolling out like all the things that we did this weekend because there was a lot, and you could have shared it all in once, but it's a lot.
Well, you can find you can find me at Escobursky and at The Unofficial Guides, and find copies of my books at theunofficialguides.com. And until next week, I hope that you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And we will see you all again next time.
Yes.
Bye.